When we're bringing in new brands, the first question that I ask is what's the map. The second question that I ask is what's the quality. And some people might think that should be reversed, but if I'm selling the most miracle of miracle products, and people can get it $30, $40, $50 cheaper on Amazon, I'm not going to sell it.
Welcome to the Natural Products Marketer Podcast. I'm Tina.
And I'm Amanda, and we're here to make marketing easier for natural products businesses so you can reach more people and change more lives. Hey guys, welcome back to the Natural Products Marketer Podcast. We are so excited to have two awesome retailers with us today, Micah Corrigan and Chase Ballard. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having me.
So we always like to start off with asking how you got into the industry, because most people don't grow up thinking this is what I want to do with my life, but maybe you're different. So Micah, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So I started in Hawaii. So my parents had a health food store in Kailua, Hawaii. And my parents were there for like 18 years. I was there for about 6 or 7. We moved to Wisconsin. I never forgave them. I'm just kidding. But then we moved to Wisconsin. We had the health food store there. I've been in it basically my whole life. And from there, in 2020, I started a brand called Great Naturally Electrolytes. And then I've been involved in the industry recently. I'm on the board for the Positively Natural show. I'm also involved with Save Naturally, which is a frictionless coupon platform. And then we're also starting a Be Well Verified program as well, which we can get more into later. But I love this industry. I love the people in this industry, and anything that I can do to promote this industry is my passion.
So you're not busy at all?
No, absolutely. I have tons of free time.
Chase, how about you?
I got started in the industry when I was 21 or so. I was very unhealthy, terribly unhealthy, the exact opposite of the picture of wellness. And one of my family members, they got really sick, and it kind of woke me up to start thinking about health. And so I started at GNC down the road because my best friend worked down there. And GNC was quite an experience. It taught me to be ethical and to sell good stuff and not crap. And that led me on a journey to find Nutrition World in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I joined with Ed there and spent about 7-8 years, and then moved down to Florida to work here at Detweiler's, and have been in the industry, I guess, a total of 15-ish years now, maybe more, but yeah.
Great. Well, I know that both of you are super passionate about this industry and seeing retailers not only survive, but thrive. And I know you guys are doing that in the businesses that you guys run. So what are the things that you've done in your retail businesses in order to succeed? And what are some things that other retailers need to do and pivot to also be successful? Chase?
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I would say that retailers need to do is they just need to reestablish themselves as the owner of their business. I think that's what I've been successful doing, even though I've never technically owned any of the stores I've worked for. I've always been just, at Detweiler's, I'm the director of wellness, so I kind of get to run, and I'm the product owner of wellness, if you will. But, at Nutrition World, I was the general manager. But I think the big thing is a lot of retailers let outside forces control and dictate their how they run their business, and they don't ask how they want to run their business or what their goals are and set out to achieve those. They let too many circumstances do that. And that's where I've really found that, if you do the core principles right by establishing yourself as the health authority in your town and staying true to your passions, you really can dictate how and what you want to do and who you want to be. And I see a lot of retailers kind of have shied away from that for whatever reason. So I'd say that's, I don't know if that exactly answers the questions, but that's one thing we've done, or I've helped us do really well. We stand firm on our standards and our expectations of ethics and morals, and have been able to do some things in the industry due to that as well, by standing up and saying this isn't the way it needs to be done. And yeah, I'd say, I guess the answer to the question simply is we've had a backbone.
What would you add to that, Micah?
Yeah, I would say specialize. So, I see. So, for example, I see there's like a different spectrum of retailers, right? There's food, drug, mass, which is all the way on like one side of the retail spectrum, and then there's doctors' offices, naturopathic doctors, holistic practitioners, on the other side of the spectrum. And, I think that it's even like the large natural chains that we're seeing, they are kind of also moving towards more of the mass market side of things where, they're carrying a lot of more conventional grocery products. And in the independent health food channel, I think that's also kind of like a hybrid kind of in the middle. And I think that if they could specialize more, I think that's going to be a win for them down the road. I see products being, customers can get products, basically anywhere now. And so I think if a store is trying to be everything, it's going to be extremely difficult for that store. So I would say dig your heels in and specialize as much as you can. So that, comes down to the products. So one of the things that, I say to our team always is that we're looking for unique boutique and therapeutic products, just as an example. We're not looking for products that can be found everywhere. And I think customers, when they come into our stores, they want to have that unique, cutting edge, the newest products, the best products. But if it's just a generic, commodity product that they can buy at Walmart or Target, there's not that specialty feeling anymore. So that's where I would specialize in. And then also like including services. So like if you could include consulting work or blood work or, different types of like testing services, I would include that as well. And then, try adaptive marketing. There's tons of different marketing styles out there. Save Naturally would be, one of the things that a retailer could incorporate. But I think just trying different things out and trying them at a faster rate and seeing what works and just being open to new ideas.
I love hearing about all of that, Micah. And I've got so many questions for both of you, actually. But if you're including services in your business, is there any sort of benchmark that makes sense for people? Like this percentage of your revenue should go to services like blood work, consultations, anything like that?
I would say that a lot of retailers aren't doing it. So I would just try, starting just with one thing. And if you can't do it, or if you don't have someone on staff, I would try partnering with your local dietitian in the area, or a local nutritionist, or a local naturopath in your area. And then just, try to partner with them and provide those services, because we have customers coming in and, they're looking for natural product minded medical doctors. They're looking for acupuncturists. They're looking for a good chiropractor recommendation. So, customers are looking for, they're searching for these answers. And I think if you can just be more integrated in your community with other services that are in there, I think that's going to be a good long-term strategy. But it's also going to set you apart because Walmart's not doing that. Target's not doing that. Walgreens isn't doing that. So you want to provide as much value to the customers you possibly can.
Yeah, I like this referral approach, this practitioners, inviting them into your shop, because I do think that we talk a lot about people becoming the health advocates and health consultants for the people in their community. And there's no better way to do that than to be like, oh, you need this person. I know exactly who you need to talk to, and being able to point them in the right direction. Any ideas other than you Google them on finding those people and how you sort of evaluate whether or not they're a fit for you in your store?
I mean, a lot of times, the connections that we have, they, have been customers. They're already in that kind of mindset. So those are the people that, we're looking for. They're already, we're already connected with them. I would, if you're in the store level and you don't have those current connections, I would try, I don't know, making a sign, sending out a newsletter, something like that, looking for a partnership like that. That's just one idea.
Well, one thing you can do, I think that Nutrition World was doing it was really good, is they put together a gift basket, or even ask your vendors for gift baskets and take those around to practitioners and kind of have a personal letter in there and talk to them about what you do. And you'll usually gather feedback that way also.
Yeah, just another tactic that we've used before or made the recommendation around doing that is, and Micah, you kind of hinted at this, like some of those practitioners are already coming into your store, which is great, but you also just have customers who use people like that. So I love the idea of putting the sign up, because you can get your own customers telling you, no, this is the best chiropractor, or I believe in this person to do holistic medicine because they don't always give me a prescription and they help me understand what I need from your store. So I think just asking your customers who they use is, or, hey, submit your favorite, that's always a good tactic as well.
Yeah. And I'd be interested to ask Chase, because, if anyone isn't familiar with Detweiler's, they're a farmer's market with a wellness department, versus Micah's store. It's more of a supplement store. They have some food. And I would say that the vast majority of our listeners do kind of fall into this 70+% are supplements. But for those that aren't, I'm curious, how do you have this consultative approach in a store that's more grocery centric, where people feel like, oh, this still makes sense for me to get my health and wellness advice from a store that's not just a pill shop, so to speak?
Yeah, it's tough because our store, each of our 4 stores has about 3,000 to 5,000 customers a day. So it's, you can't have, those long conversations with every customer. Now we still make it a priority. We keep the floor staffed as best we can. But we kind of have what we term as like a health food store express. So, in a typical health food store, a conversation may be 5 to 15 to 20 minutes. Well, we try and shave those 20-minute ones down into the 8-minute range. And the biggest thing, it really is just coming down to finding and hiring passionate staff that care about people. Literally, we don't even really look for much supplement knowledge when it comes to people. We can teach supplement knowledge, but we need people that care about people and that are good at talking to people. That's kind of the main thing we look for in our staff. If you have supplement knowledge, that's great, but really it's about just loving people and wanting to help people. But finding those people and then just letting them do some quick little nuggets is what we call them. We just talk, we're passing on health nuggets. We're not going to be sitting here going through a whole big spiel with people, but we always want to keep, if someone's coming in for something, hey, what are you taking that for? What else are you already taking? So we try and ask those probing questions so we can see what else they're taking and then help them find what also could work well with them and kind of open that door to where they start trusting us and give us more information. And then the nice thing is we're more of a grocery store. So in a typical health food store, you see your customer once every 4 to 6 weeks. If you're lucky, sometimes they don't come back until, every 90 days or so if they buy in bulk. At a grocery store, we get to see them every week. So it's kind of a luxury there, is we can kind of check in each week. Hey, how are you doing? Is that working for you? Is it not? Do we need to bring it back? Do we need to switch it out? So we kind of use we have some weaknesses because we can't spend that much time because due to the volume of customers, but it is nice that we actually get to see them more frequently because we're kind of a neighborhood destination for them. So it's kind of it's a give and take, but it works out.
Chase, you said something earlier when Amanda was talking about what are some ways you've been successful, and I can't just leave it on the table. I'm sure people are like, wait, we want to hear more about this. But you said we have a backbone. If I were to sum it up, it's that we have a backbone. And so I would love to hear more of that because it sort of weaves into what Micah was saying about being a specialty store with the unique boutique and therapeutic items. So I would love for you to say more about having a backbone. What has that looked like? And then what do you do as a result of figuring out, hey, we're not going to stand for X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what we had done is, me and Ed were very pivotal, and others. It wasn't just us, but we were very pivotal in the map compliance, I guess, or whatever. But we basically said that if you don't have a map, if your company as the vendor doesn't have a map policy that's enforced, then you're not coming into our stores. And at this time, it was 2016, 2017, and map was very hit or miss. I'd say probably 30% of the brands out there of the main big brands had a reliable map, and 70% were considering it or not sure if they were going to. And it was a very scary time in the industry because Amazon was just destroying our pricing in the stores, and it was very concerning. So we kind of came out there and said, hey, here's our map policy. Basically, when we sent out these letters to all these companies saying, here's our map policy. If you don't have a map that's enforced at 30% or better, or or less, whatever, then you're not allowed in our stores. And then we gave them a deadline. And I actually remember sitting down with one of the biggest manufacturers. It was their like regional rep. I told him what we were doing. I said, hey, you have 6 weeks to get your map in line, and if not, we're cutting you. And he laughed and was like, we're the number one brand in the industry. You can't cut us. We're like, well, okay. And then, the deadline came, and we sent them a credit for, I think it was like $7,000 or something, all of our stock, or it was at least 70% of our stock, because we basically went through the entire night. I still remember it vividly because it was a nightmare. We went through and we pulled off every product that didn't have a map policy and put them in baskets and put them in the back, and basically did a credit memo and sent them to the companies. And not a week later, I don't know if it wasn't the CEO, but it was one of the national sales rep flew down from that company. And I think a month later, we were flying up to their company to meet with the CEO and stuff like that to talk about map policy. So we were just a store. I mean, a successful store. I mean, we were definitely a good store, but just a single store. They kind of prodded this movement, if you will, because we started with Soho. Actually, I think I have one of the books. There's very few remaining, but yeah, I have like 3 left. But with Soho, we did a little book thing. It was kind of a panic thing that Amanda actually wrote, because Lord knows I would not be able to do this.
I'm his ghostwriter.
But yeah, I remember sitting down and she recorded me talking and blabbing. But anyways, we went with Soho doing road shows, and we needed something to hand out to people because it was a lot of information. And then we did that, and that little book kind of circulated around the industry real quick, and a lot of people latched on to some of the ideas in it, and I think it spooked a lot of vendors, or actually didn't spook them, it woke them up, I think, to see this is actually a serious issue, and we need to decide where we want to be. Do we want to support the independents, or do we want to support the just be in this race with Amazon and all these other counterfeit brands? And so a lot of good brands joined the independent channel, I think, or partnered with it. And I don't think brands get enough credit for that, because that was a tough decision for a number of brands. I know a lot of brands that talked to us that said they had to cut, $2 million in POs because those weren't, they were not MAP compliant. And, a lot of brands don't get the credit for kind of ponying up and saying, hey, no, we're not going to stand for this. And I think I'm very passionate about helping the retailers improve because I think the ball is now in the retailer's court, because I think the brands, at least during that time frame, said, hey, we're committed to this industry. Now it's on us to show them why they should stay committed. Now, recently, we have some issues with mass market and kind of blending the line between mass market and honestly, I think we have to be careful not to point fingers at the brands again and say, hey, why are you doing this? I think we always have to step back and ask, why are they doing this? Why are they thinking about this? And yeah, there's greed involved in some things, but some of these brands are just worried about survivability. And honestly, in my opinion, the independent channel is not healthy. And that's why I'm passionate about helping it get healthy. And I love what you guys are doing at Natural Products Marketer, is trying to help retailers and brands. But this channel has to stay healthy. Otherwise, we can't blame these brands for considering going into mass market, because they have to make money too. And so, yeah, I think I'm not saying it's completely okay. And, trust me, I give them a very hard time whenever I see stuff in mass market, but I try to understand their situation as well. So.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear Micah's perspective on this, because I know you have a similar philosophy with, MAP pricing and all of that, but also as someone who's, recently started a manufacturing company and still having the retail store, like, what are you seeing from both sides of the coin now? What can retailers be doing to support these brands that are, trying to stay dedicated to the independent channel, in spite of its flaws? But then also, do we blame manufacturers that have gone a little bit more mass? Like, what's the appeal? Why do you think that they would do something like that?
Well, I think the reason why brands are kind of leaving the channel is just because they're going out of business. They're following the money. That's, what's happening. So they're already saturated in all of the health food stores. But health food stores aren't growing at like an exponential rate. What is growing is emerging markets. A lot of like e-tailers are growing. The mass market channel is growing, especially as consumers are becoming more and more aware of natural products. A lot of these mass market retailers, want to capitalize on that, bring those brands in and, sell them to their customers. That's essentially what's going on, is they're just following the money. That's where the growth is. So it's very hard to kind of blame them because that's where the growth is. And however, a lot of these brands are, they've already won. They're legacy brands. They're saturated in every single health food store. And so now they're deciding where to go to, which is an important decision that they have to make. How fast are they going to expand? What markets are they going to expand to? These are all questions that they have to figure out. I have seen it. I think we've all seen it when many brands try to go into some of these large mass markets and it doesn't end well. And that's because, in my opinion, the health food stores, that's where the growth engine is. That is where innovation starts. That's where education is. That's where specialty is. So, I think what we're seeing is a lot of new brands coming onto the market, and they're seeing this outflux of legacy brands going to mass markets. And this is kind of where I'm coming in. And I want to partner with the retail stores. I want to partner with the independent channel as a brand. I think many new brands coming out, many innovative brands are also seeing that, and they are happy to partner with the independent retailers. So every single time here's kind of another flip side of that too. Every single time a brand is on a retail shelf, that is a form of advertisement. And it's a little tiny billboard for your brand, for your product on the shelf. And I think a lot of brands know that, but many brands maybe don't publicly value it as much. And so every single time, you're on the shelf or on an independent shelf, that is an opportunity for, the retail associate to, explain about the brand, explain about the product. And it leaves an open conversation for, what other products the brand carries. I mean, that's where the marketing is. That's where the education is. And so when brands leave that and they go full on food, drug, mass, what I'm curious about is how are they going to launch new products? What do you do? Do you just try to go to a big box store and say, hey, I got these new products. Can I get a $2 million PO? And normally the big box retailer is like, well, what's the spins data? Where's the proof of concept? Oh, sorry, we don't have that. We left that channel. Can you buy into it? So I think it's just a dangerous road if they go down that road. So I think a lot of them are trying to navigate how do they still keep their foot in the door in the health food stores while also trying to grow into mass market. But as a retailer, you have the power to promote what you want. And this is just the last little part of this too, is the retailer has the power to promote what they want. So you don't necessarily have to flip the light switch off on many of these legacy brands. Of course not. You built that demand for the last 10, 20 years. People are used to that product. But I think it would be very prudent for the retailer to look at new brands and new offerings and new innovative formulas, still keeping some of that legacy stuff, but keeping in mind that the legacy is going into other markets. So it's not necessarily going to be a long-term partnership there.
And that's kind of, I'm having an argument right now with a very big brand in the industry that's kind of trying to figure out what they want to do. And they've kind of said we're committed to the independents over and over and over. That's what their mouth is saying, but their actions are starting to do different things. And that's the thing that they have to be careful with. And that's what I've been telling the leadership there is you have to be very careful with this, because some actions you're making, you may not think they're a big deal, but the way the independent channel sees this is a colossal issue. We're okay to an extent with you having a facing or two in a Target. Okay, if it's the same price or if we have a better price or we're on promotion, usually we're not going to lose our minds. We don't love it. It's kind of come on, why are you doing this? Are we not good enough type thing? But okay, I get it. It's, Target, whatever, I get it. But when you start doing promotions there, or you start creating exclusive SKUs, or you start leaning into these type things and showing more not loyalty, but more favoritism to the mass market, or start even doing some of the things that you only used to do in independent, but now you're doing in mass, that's where the line starts to be drawn. And that's where brands need to be very, very, very careful with that. They need to be very careful with every step they take, because I think the whole industry, the whole independent channel is weary of creating another garden. We're weary of letting that happen again. And so I think everybody's on guard to kind of, I'm seeing a lot more retailers actually stand up and say, hey, no, we're not standing for this, and see some standards that I think are even extreme. But I'm happy for them. That's where I went back to the beginning of you own your store. So if you think that's what's best for your business, do that. So I do see more retailers standing up and saying no. But we also, on the flip side, the other thing I'm passionate about is that on the flip side, we have to say yes to becoming and staying the influencer in our neighborhood, the incubator as well, because that's what our intrigue is. If you're not the influencer in your neighborhood, and the word should be influencer, and I used to say health advocate in your neighborhood, but it's really the reason brands are kind of freaking out right now is the whole influencer craze. Health food stores used to be the influencer. That's who we were. That's why people came to see us. Well, now you don't need that. We need to remind people, especially our communities, why we are the influencer for health in our community and to trust us. But we need to focus on that and remind the brands why they need us, because it is a symbiotic relationship. Every brand that's gone mass and has made the independent channel upset has gone as a shell of its former self. I mean, it just happens. So as a brand, they have to be very careful with how they navigate this water to, because I have seen some brands successfully play a little in mass, and some of us haven't gotten too mad yet. But it's a very fine line, and they have to be very careful with that.
Yeah, so it kind of brings me back to, Micah, what you were talking about. Like, you want to find these specialty products that work, that you can bring them into your store. And the segue here is moving from, okay, there are brands where you're getting a little bit wary of them as a store because they don't match your philosophy anymore, or they're doing things to undercut the channel that you've helped them create. So how do you find those products that are going to be the next great products for the independent channel and for your consumers? And then how do you start switching? So, Chase, you talked about Nutrition World just pulling product off the shelf and giving a big credit back to the manufacturer. But that is, from our discussions with retailers, that is a different approach. That's a lot more scary than maybe what they're willing to commit to.
Well, let me answer that real quick. I don't know if that was directed towards Micah or not, but I'm gonna hop in. That when you realize that, when you realize the key here, because I think that question is actually maybe phrased wrong. The key is, and what I realized, the light bulb came on for me during that transition at Nutrition World. We cut, at this time, it was the hottest item in the world. It was the Natural Vitality, I think that's the name of it, Calm. I haven't sold it in years, so I don't remember what it's called. I think it's Natural Vitality. It was the hottest thing. Everybody was, you have Calm Magnesium. I mean, we were selling tons of it, but they had no map. I don't even know if they still have a map. I think they're owned by Clorox now, but I don't know. But anyways, we could literally buy it cheaper on Amazon than we were getting it from distribution. And that was probably the one I was the most worried about cutting. I was like, this is going to suck. We're going to get in trouble, but we transitioned over to Blue Bonnet's, Calm Magnesium. Had the same name. It was an easy transition. And that's when the light bulb flipped for me. And I actually understood the power good retailers have. And that is, we put a sign up, hey, and we made sure not to disparage Natural Vitality's quality, because we want to stand for quality. We carried the brand for years. We're not going to say, oh, it's all of a sudden crap product. We said, hey, we don't see it eye to eye business wise anymore. They have different priorities that don't support our business. We've got this other brand that we feel is just as good, if not better. Here's a 10% discount on it. It's this, or, it may be even cheaper. And this just supports our business better. And so people would be like, oh, you don't have Calm? Is this just as good and you like it better? Yeah. All right, perfect. And they just grab that and go. So just seeing, I think we maybe had 5 to 3% of customers that would stop and actually go buy Calm somewhere else, but nothing like I thought it was. I thought we were going to be getting laughed at by not having this one thing people wanted. But that's what I learned is a good retailer that is that influencer in their community, or that influencer to that customer, they want what you recommend. They trust you. You're their influencer. So they're coming to you. It's not about the product you have. So say you're trying to get rid of, anything. I mean, we could say we're trying to get rid of Liquid IV, just to talk about Mike here. Bring in Great Naturally, stand behind it, do a display of it, sample it. I guarantee you, it'll be a top seller. But it's because of you. It's not really because of any of the products. It's because of you, and people trust you. So you can create any, and that's what I tell these brands when I argue with them. I can find another greens. I can find another collagen. I can find another vegan protein. I don't need you. Yeah, it's nice to have you, and I like partnering with you. I don't need you. Now, again, the key is you have to be the influencer in your community. If you're not the influencer in your community and people do just come to you because you're just convenient, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. But if you're the influencer in your community and people come to you and they trust you and you have good pricing and they trust you with all their health things, they're going to switch if you say switch. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's great. I mean, I heard several things there too. And I imagine you guys had Bluebonnet products in the store at the time already. They weren't a new vendor, were they?
Right. No, they were not.
So again, there are so many like psychological things that were going on there. First, you guys were the influencers in the community, and you were directing them to a different product. The product was already familiar. They had at least peripherally seen the brand name on the shelves behind you. So you weren't like, here's a brand new thing you've never seen before. So there's familiarity that was built there. And you guys explained, like you communicated what was happening and didn't just pull the rug out from under people and then make them ask questions about it so that it seems a little shady versus being really transparent about what's going on and what you're doing. So a lot of things that you guys just did right intuitively around changing out the brands. But okay, here's another question. And this is maybe where I was going initially, Micah, but in the end wanted to get to that point, Chase, about this brand conversion. But Micah, like, how do you find those good partners? Like, how are you vetting them to figure out, okay, this is the next person that is offering, or manufacturer that's offering a good product for the customers, one that you can believe in. They're going to support the industry, at least for the time being. It's always a relationship and you get to choose to get in or out. But how do you know they're the right partner?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a few criteria, and that's actually one of the answers that we're, or one of the questions that we're trying to answer with Be Well Verified. And so Be Well Verified will be, kind of that resource for stores to find those answers, the map conversation, the quality conversation, the innovation, the support, the promotions, the margins. Those are all factors that, I take, into account. Chase takes into account. Chase is also helping with Be Well Verified. And so, there's the map is a huge thing. Also, just getting involved with, I read Vitamin Retailer, going to trade shows, having good relationships with your sales reps and brokers. The information is at your fingertips, but being open to them as well. Like, a lot of stores, sometimes they just say like, oh, I have this calendar, I'm not going to bring it in yet, which is fine. Or they're not bringing in any new products, but just being open to, when there, I guarantee you there's brands that are trying to like reach out to the stores and just being open to that as well. So I'm not sure if that totally answered your question, Tina.
Yeah. I think there are these criteria that you can go down to evaluate these manufacturers before they even come in. And you can ask the right questions while you're vetting them to both make sure they've got a great formulation that you can trust, but also that they're going to be good for your business. It's one of the things that we're looking at constantly when we're looking at inventory and product mixes, and you're going, oh my gosh, this entire brand of SKUs is around a 20-something% margin and there's supplements. What is happening? And that is a legit thing that we've just found in one of our reviews of product inventory. So it's the kind of thing that if you're making a checklist for yourselves, if you're listening to this conversation and you're starting to make a checklist for yourselves, make sure you're finding a product that's not just good for the customer. That's always a top priority, but it's also got to be good for your business and someone that is not going to undercut you in the market. So you can't find it cheaper on Amazon, cheaper than even you can buy at wholesale prices. I mean, these are the kinds of standards, just to have a little checklist for yourself that you're going, okay, I can trust these people, and put a matrix together, because some of the things that we talk about are like, hey, do they have trainers that are willing to come train your staff, or at least online training that you can point people to? Will they be able to help you with educational materials for your customers as you're changing things out? And I will tell you that not all brands that are good and end up being good partners have all of these things. But if you make yourself a matrix and you're sort of weighting each of these items on it, you're like, oh, this one's better than that one. and you start putting things together. I think, Chase, at one point you had a thing where it was like, all right, you guys are A level, you guys are B. Hey, you guys just slipped down to a C rating. And then the manufacturers are calling you going, wait, how did I get to be a C?
Yeah. No, and that's what I was going to say too. Of if there is a brand out there you like and they don't have that conversation, you'll be shocked. But have the conversation and hold your standards and say, hey, here's what we need. But if it's a brand you like and you say, hey, I love your product, I love your quality, but I really need X, Y, and Z, don't just look at it from the outside and be like, oh, we can't partner. You'd be shocked. You can help educate that brand and enforce the mission of the independent channel as well, and educate them by saying, hey, we want to bring you in, but here's, you might be that one straw that breaks the camel back. But you know what, we've been thinking about MAP for a while, and you know what, you're right, we need to do it. You'd be shocked you might be what they need to hear. But you'd be shocked that, you may get that discount you wanted that you didn't think you were going to get. You may get the co-op you thought you weren't going to get. So, I mean, always have that conversation. If it's something you think is really good for your customers, at least have the conversation, because you'll be shocked to see what you can actually get.
Well, and the other thing too is, you might think, well, I'm just one retailer. I'm just talking to my sales rep. What power do they have? And you'd be shocked at the amount of people that will actually take that to their higher up and be like, hey, this store says like we're a C grade. What the heck? We can't stand for that. And things can change even just through one retailer having one conversation with a sales rep. So don't undervalue your voice.
When we're bringing in new brands, the first question that I ask is, what's the MAP? The second question that I ask is, what's the quality? And some people might think that should be reversed. But if I'm selling the most miracle of miracle products, and people can get it $30, $40, $50 cheaper on Amazon, I'm not going to sell it. I think it's just going to leave a bad taste in our customer's mouth, and we're going to look bad. It's going to ruin our reputation. And I'll just encourage them and be like, hey, I think it's a great product, but you just have to buy it elsewhere. I just can't carry it. We have educated staff, and we have to pay them. We have to pay for the convenient locations that are in this area. So if you value, the services here, if you value the convenient locations, we're going to make sure that we have an affordable price, a fair price. But we still have to keep this going here. Otherwise, we could just close up shop tomorrow. If that would be a better thing for our community, but I don't think that is. So the first question is always MAP. And then the second question is the innovation, the formula, high quality. My manager told me that she's going to kill me if I bring in another magnesium product. So I don't know how that's going to end.
You too? I can't stop. It's a bad addiction.
Do you really need 50 varieties? That's the question.
Well, maybe.
But this one's threonate and citrate and bisglycinate.
Tell me you're a natural products retailer without telling me you're a natural products retailer.
But this one's liposomal, Chase.
18 formulations of magnesium and what they do for you.
Yeah, but Micah's right. The biggest advice I would tell every retailer, one of the biggest pieces of advice, other than make sure you're the influence in your community, is do not carry a brand that makes you look bad. Don't carry it. You cannot carry a brand that makes you look bad. Just plain and simple.
Well, and also, I was going to say, brands that won't make you look bad, but don't do it to yourself either.
Right.
Because, there are brands that allow you to be super competitive with them, and just making the choice to be competitive because you can still have really good margin in spite of them having, a 20, 30% MAP, you can still compete too.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking around that as you guys were talking is this idea of an influencer. And Chase, I like that parallel, because you're right. There are so many brands that are going online, some of them online exclusively, because they just can't compete in a retail setting. And we can talk for hours about why that might be. But, or they've just chosen not to. And one of the things that they do is they buy the time of the influencers. So I'm just curious, yes, there are things that you can do online to be an online influencer, but in your communities, if it's not online, then what does being an influencer look like? Because online it can look like, okay, you're posting every day on social media. You're having lives where you're answering questions. You have backstory where you've already been where people are and you're trying to take them to, hey, I got better. So here's how, here's the plan. What does that look like in a store setting versus online?
If you're asking me, I would say to hire a company called Natural Products Marketer, and they will help you become the influencer in your neighborhood.
All right.
Not sponsored.
But no, I honestly don't know. I've actually had the one thing, I don't have all the answers. I don't admit to. I'm not the smartest guy in the room at all. But I've been very blessed too with the retailers I've worked with. Ed had and still has created such a great icon with Nutrition World in Chattanooga. They were already very successful when I got there, and he was already the influencer. So I've never had to help someone become an influencer. Now I helped be a part of getting his podcast going and helping do some of those type things and rebranding and marketing and their website launch and some of the behind the scenes stuff. But Ed was always kind of that. He was already the community influencer. And so that's just natural to him. So I've never had to do that part. And then Detweilers, we have 5,000 customers a day. People are here. We don't have to go out and get people. So I've never really had to overcome that obstacle, honestly. I don't know, but what I would do if it was me personally is I would find my key differences. And Micah maybe answer this question quicker, so I'll go quicker. But I would find my key differences. If you haven't read the book Good to Great, read the book Good to Great. You have to, if you own a business, read it. But it talks about the hedgehog concept. But basically, what are your key differences versus your competition? Find those, shout those from the rooftop, and then tell your story. And using some sort of marketing tactic somehow. That's what I would say. Stand on quality, stand on pricing, stand on your story, and stand on, whatever your experience is that you're passionate about. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. And I think the good to great too is it's kind of like specializing, like find out, you can't be everything, but specialize, know what you're good at and then just really, go all in on that. I know, what Ed would say too is be the expert in your field. And so people are coming to the health food store and they are looking for solutions to problems. And, definitely 100%. We are in a people business and we just happen to sell vitamins. But, you have to, people are looking for, I have joint, problems. I have, heart problems. I have, blood pressure issues. Perfect opportunity to show them the therapeutic products that you carry. And so, you can't, this is what I mean by unique, boutique, and therapeutic. Like unique, it has to be, it has to be innovative. It has to be, it just can't be like the 51st magnesium that you're bringing in, just a commodity item. Boutique, it's a benefit if it's not sold everywhere. People have to come to you to buy it. And then therapeutic, it has to be well dosed. It has to help people. It has to not be a kitchen sink, because when people, when their wallets are getting tight, when people are cutting their budget, they're not going to cut the products that are actually helping them or feel a difference. And so when you sell a product at the health food store and you really help that customer and they come back, 30 days, 60, I'm like, oh my gosh, that protocol that you gave me, like that product that you gave me, that just helped me, so immensely. That word of mouth is, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family members, they're going to come in. And they're not going to get that type of service from maybe more of a traditional influencer. Maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but they've maybe they're entertaining, kind of the traditional influencer. Sure, nothing wrong with that. I love entertainment, but they earn their trust, and you have to earn your trust. You have to earn your customers' trust, and that is with selling therapeutic products that actually help people. You can't just be selling. This is kind of what I'm afraid of, where everything's going, is a lot of these legacy companies, They started out in the health food store. They had the therapeutic product the way that the manufacturer intended it. And now this big box retailer is looking at those SPINS numbers. They want those MULA numbers to go up. And it's just too high of a price. They know that their customer is not going to pay $30 for that product or $40 for that product. They'll pay $10. How do you get to $10? Well, you got to cut some corners. Easiest way to do it would be, cutting the potencies down using cheaper ingredients and then maybe cutting the servings down. But the marketing is the same, and so, it's very frustrating when I'll see some of these products at a big box store and it looks like it's the same product on the front. It looks almost identical. And then on the back, it's like a different formula. It's different servings, potency. The average consumer is not going to pick up on that. But then they'll remember, why did I go to that health food store? That was like, 50% more. Why was that $30 and it's $15 here? Why is that? And so, that's also not a very good long-term strategy, which kind of goes back to what Chase was saying. Don't carry products that make you look bad, because that's going to be an ever ongoing battle for that retailer.
Well, and it was interesting. I was having a conversation just this morning with an industry friend, and we were talking about how a lot of these products that have been created to go direct to consumer, they're choosing the lower quality ingredients, and they're still pricing them pretty outrageously, in my opinion, because they're basically just padding their marketing budget so they can actually get their products to different to as many eyeballs as they can. But if you're an influencer in the typical sense of the word, talking about the products on Instagram, no one cares that it's KSM 66 ashwagandha. That's like out of their vocabulary. You're never going to communicate that. So they don't put that in the product, but we all know that that's the superior form of ashwagandha. And that's what you're going to find in the health food store. So it's like, you have to, again, differentiate yourself with those high quality products. Yep. And be able to effectively communicate why this product that you carry on your shelves is way better than this direct to consumer brand that you found for half price on Amazon, because there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah. Every moment of an owner's day, or if you own a health food store, should be, how can I remind people why they shop with me? Or how can that's really your entire goal of, how can I make them remember or know why they shop with us versus someone else? Like that, it comes down to experience. And experience is a big word and a big umbrella term, but it could be, it's a warm, inviting feeling in the store. We remind them of our quality. We talk about how AG1 is very overpriced and not worth it. We talk about how these brands out there, there's reasons we don't carry certain things. There's a reason why we do educate on the certain ingredients. But basically, it's everything you do should be repositioned of making that customer loyal to you. And not only that, but making them ambassadors for you, to where they're going out in their community and sharing your gospel message of whatever you stand for. And I guess, the big thing is look at yourself in the mirror and what do you stand for? That's where I started out saying, have a backbone. Like, don't look at AG1 and be like, God, it's selling so well, I need to bring it in. Let's just buy it at bulk discount and let's just resell it at the price. That's what people want. Let's get it in. It's like, no, like, have your greens that you think is best and make a sign. I mean, we made a sign. I don't know where it's at. Yeah, I got one here. I was tired of hearing about AG1, so I made a little thingy. Or Amanda made it for me, but as AG1 and Bloom, because I was tired of hearing about that, and then Green Vibrance and Ancient, and talks about different things, and that's posted in our greens. It's just like, talk about what you have and what's special about it.
Wait, do you guys know each other?
We've met a few times.
I like that. I like that idea. Like, if you have a chart right there showing like this has this ingredient in it, this doesn't. It's very helpful for like a first look.
I'll be honest. Like, and I don't know how Micah feels, but when Micah was talking about being specialty, in my opinion, this industry is not hard. If people have lost customers or something has happened, I think it's the retailer needs to look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, are we focused on what we're passionate about? Are we being fair to the customer? Are we treating the customer like we want to be treated, with pricing, with product quality, with these things? And maybe it's a time to look in the mirror and really refocus on those things, because honestly, if you're being honest with your customers with pricing and quality and the right products, and you're caring about your customers, they're not going to leave you. I mean, so, also, do the lights work in your store? Is it clean? Like, there are things you have to take care of, but if you price at MAP and you carry solid products and you're honest with your people and you tell them why you do what you do, I don't think it's that hard. But again, I have been a little blessed for the retailers I work at. But yeah.
Well, also, I mean, I think, Chase, you undervalue a little bit of things that come really easily to you. And so when other people start looking at the different things that they need to do, pricing strategy, how to communicate, what makes them different, even if they're great, showing up in their community and partnering with practitioners, like all of these things, there's a lot of that comes super easy to you. So I don't think it's hard. I think it's simple tactics
people need
that
to be
you're talking
nudged.
about, but it's
People
still
need to be
work.
nudged.
Yeah, it's still work, and it's still identifying the right levers and things. And so, just
because it's not hard it doesn't mean it's easy.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And if you're listening to this and you're like, Chase says this is easy, and it's not. There are pieces of it that you sometimes you're in it, right? And you can't see all the pieces that I do think come a little bit more naturally to you, Chase. And so having someone from the outside, even if it's a friend, even if you're calling Micah or Chase and just being like, hey, what do you think? I've got this struggle that I'm dealing with. Sometimes having someone from the outside just sort of take a look and go, hold on a second. Here are some simple things, because you're just in the day-to-day getting it done. So
that's what I love about this industry too, is like, that's how you guys met, Micah and Chase. So many years ago. We hadn't even met in person until like a year and a half ago, which just blows my mind. But it was like, let me call Chase and talk to him about this thing, because I'm not alone. And I think that's something that I love about this industry, between, Senpa, Positively Natural, Maho, these different organizations. Like, there are so many people like Chase, like Micah, that are willing to just hop on the phone, answer an email, like send a text, and just be there to support each other, because you're not each other's competition. And you probably wouldn't even view other people in your community as your competition, because, Tina says this all the time, a rising tide raises all ships. And when our industry thrives, it's a benefit to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people are so focused on like their closer competition. And, I had a friend come up to our stores and sell us his products. And what did he say? He was like, we're both retailers. And, I told him, I'm like, dude, you're not my competition. And I was so happy to support another retailer's products, put them on end cap. I was so happy to support like another independent owner. And, and it's also, local from Wisconsin. But I was just so happy to do that. And then, I heard this other retailer, they're coming out with their products, another retailer's coming out with a product. Like, I think these retailers are also kind of just tired of seeing what's been going on the last decade. It's not the most difficult to get, good materials. It's not like, 1848 and you had to be a Rockefeller, to get your hands on good raw materials. So I think we are starting to see like a landscape shift of, I think the brands and the products that you see on the shelves today will be totally different in 5 years. I think a lot of new brands are coming out. It's very exciting. And I think stores can there just needs to be like a change. And I think stores have to also have to like, take that to heart because, okay, kind of off topic, but if it's just about money, and this is what I always joke with, our staff about, but if it's just about money and it's selling and it's just about money, why don't we just sell cigarettes? I mean, it's a good seller, right? So like, that's kind of going back to what Chase is like, have a backbone, carry the products that you believe in, make sure that you have like the map and the high quality products, but you don't have to carry everything. Retailers are confined into whatever, like a 3,000, 6,000, 10,000, 20,000 square foot space. You can't carry everything. You're not going to win that game. Amazon carries everything from A to Z. The internet carries every single product under the sun. You don't have infinite space. You're never going to win the battle of variety. So, what is it? Jeff Bezos, I think, said this. It's like people always want, fast shipping, cheap prices, and the largest variety, right? You're never going to compete on the variety. That's never going to happen. And then for shipping, I understand shipping is complicated. If you're a health food store in like one area, I would focus on that community. I would win that community. I would be the best retailer in that community. I wouldn't worry about 3 states over and trying to get the best USPS shipping rates and start selling to those people. Win the community, be the expert in your community, focus on that. And then cheap prices. Don't carry the products that, are constantly undercutting you. Don't do that. We sell everything at MAP. And then from there, we discount further using our rewards program. But some stores, when they sell things at like full MSRP retail, I mean, that just also makes me look bad. I'm like, hey man, like you're creating the wrong impression for stores. Like, can you not do that? Like bring it down to that fair level. And then, after you're carrying things at MAP, then, you can negotiate margins with the brand. But you have to be at a competitive price. And also brands are happy to do that. I think brands, if you're selling it always at a very competitive price, they're very happy to do deals with you. Mm-hmm. What they don't want is for you to like pad and make a 70, 80% margin.
Yeah.
And just keep selling it at full retail. Oh, it's not selling. I don't know. Well, have you tried, having it at a more reasonable price or more affordable price or competitive price?
People used to say, or people think that I get these amazing discounts. And I mean, I'm sure I get some decent discounts, but I've gotten a reputation. I mean, I'm sure you have as well, Mike, but I have a reputation and I get good discounts because A, I ask, and then B, the brands trust me to know that I'm going to pass it on. When we promote stuff, we don't make a lot of money on the promotion. We actually don't. Yeah, when we promote stuff is when we make the least amount of money on that brand. But the idea is that we are building loyalty and we're building a repeat customer to come back and get it when it's at MAP, because we make decent margin when it's at MAP. So I mean, but people
that's that promotional cycle. I mean, that's I think what stores have to do. Like there's Tina, you kind of like mentioned this matrix too. There's 4 games in this industry. There's the EDLP game, there's the volume game, there's the line drive game, and then there's the random discounts game. And I hate those the most. But the golden goose for retailers is going to be this EDLP margin. And a lot of brands can't afford that. But that would be kind of like the golden goose, is like a really good everyday discount and, not a huge like minimum order shipping. The second game is volume. If you can work it out with your brand, hey, I'm going to order this bulk and I can get it at this discount, I think that is like the best way to go. Line drives are the third game. It's very sometimes confusing because typically there's like 4 line drives a year, 3 line drives a year, and stores will order it on promotion. But then if they're out of stock in, let's just say February, and they place another reorder and it's at wholesale, well, a lot of them are just going to wait for 3 weeks till Expo West comes around when they can order it on promo. So the line drives, they're fine, but it kind of creates this like habit of ordering. Like reorders are dependent on a Gregorian calendar month. Whereas if you do the volume, that you can order it 7 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year. You just have to get to that volume. And, volume ordering is dependent on item movement. So buy it, put it on promotion, try to create that demand, sell it, and then you can buy it again at that discount. And then, you can keep doing that, and you don't always have to promote it. You can stop the promotion for a month or 2 months and then kind of reap that margin and kind of, get that back. But, volume and EDLP is the best way. And the random discounts, I don't really like that, just because I called this one company. I was like, well, when is your ashwagandha going to be on sale next? And they're like, I don't know. And as a retailer, as a buyer, I am trying to allocate funds. Typically, I do it for a year, and I don't know how much money to set aside. I don't quite know. Am I going to like sell it out, and then I'm going to be making a 20% margin for the rest of the year? Until I'm not quite sure about that. So those are my least favorite. But yeah, volume and EDLPs. Line drives are great, but I think it kind of creates bad habits.
Yeah. Man, I wish that we could I know there's another good hour in this conversation that we could have. Amanda, what do you think?
Oh yeah. Well, we can always just schedule part 2. Because we could talk all day, which I love. But yeah, we want to make sure that our listeners can hang with us. So let's definitely have you guys on again if you're willing, because you guys are just full of knowledge and wisdom. And I don't know about you, Tina, but like I have a lot of hope for our industry listening to these guys because of how passionate they are and how well they run their businesses. So I'd love to just continue to pass along your words of wisdom to our listeners, because I know that they'll really benefit from it. But thank you so much for being with us here today.
Yeah, so excited to have you guys. I think there were so many nuggets that we could double click on another date. So I'd love to have you guys on again, because it's just such practical information, from pricing to replacement to, hey, this is a whole marketing strategy that we could talk about. But loved all the information and would love to have you back, and just really appreciate you both.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. Chase and I are the same person.
Great.
Thanks so much for listening to the Natural Products Marketer podcast. We hope you found this episode to be super helpful. Make sure you check out the show notes for any of those valuable resources that we mentioned on today's episode.
And before you go, we would love for you to give us a review, follow, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening today. And make sure you join us for our next episode, where we give you more marketing tips so that you can reach more people and change more lives.